shared services to step up in 2021. Without further ado, I would love to introduce our first group of speakers to take on the virtual stage. Our first keynote panel this afternoon will be focusing on creating a digital-ready operating model for the future of GBS, hosted by Kapil Jan, Senior Vice President and Global Head of Sales and Enterprise Capability, Infosys BPM. Joining Kapil, we have five industry experts, including Reto Sali, Group Chief Information Officer from Asahi Europe, Phil Priest, SVP Global Business Services from Smith & Nephew, Michael Vandersteen, Global Vice President Order to Cash from Adidas, and Geeta Malhotra, Head of Integrated Business Service Transformation from Philip Morris International. So now let's invite the panel to the virtual stage and we will get this very exciting discussion started.
Thank you very much, Kathy, and very excited to be on this virtual platform. We never thought that we will be living in this virtual world for almost 12 plus months. I think it all started in March, and we all collectively have done impossible things we never thought or never imagined that we will be able to do. I think I am joined by a set of practitioners who have actually accelerated digital transformation from years to months to weeks, as we have all seen in our day-to-day lives, in our enterprises, with our clients, in our organizations. We have also seen significant collaboration between technology and operations, between businesses. We have seen collaboration across industries, within industries. The fact that we were able to roll out a vaccine against the virus in less than 12 months, typically what it takes 8 to 10 years, wouldn't have been possible without significant collaboration across industries. I think tech players came together and so on and so forth. So we will hear the experiences of some of the practitioners, as well as in terms of really what we saw around the world made us believe in terms of compassionate leadership, in terms of people, in terms of how do you really bring the culture in virtual environment. I think those were some of the lessons that we all learned. I've got 4 esteemed panelists from esteemed organizations: Asahi, Smith & Nephew, Adidas, and Philip Morris, each one of them driving digital transformation, driving their GBS organizations. The topic that we have chosen for today is creating digital-ready operating model for future of GBS. And I think the reason we have chosen this topic, different organizations are at different scale of maturity in their GBS organizations in terms of how they've been able to bring in the digital transformation. Yes, everyone has seen acceleration, but they started at different points in times. There were organizations which saw a decline in their growth. There were organization sectors that saw exponential growth. So different organizations faced different set of challenges, but I think all of them navigated, found a way to sail through. And as we all know, I think roughly 15% of the world population today has been vaccinated. So I'm sure and very confident that we will be out of this pretty soon. I know some parts of the world are still facing challenges. I'm very hopeful and confident that we'll be out of it fairly soon. Also, in terms of Infosys, we started supporting our clients on digital transformation journey in helping them navigate to their next about 3 years back. And that's when we came up with the concept of live enterprise in terms of really seeing what we are telling our clients, how do we equip and enable ourselves to drive the change, drive perceptible experience, enhancing the experience quotient, efficiency, effectiveness. We moved 100 plus employee apps to 3 mobile apps with 45% services availed anytime, reducing cycle time and effort by 50%, many such initiatives. And I think some of the building blocks that we felt that organizations or clients that we service, including ourselves, that we need are networked and connected enterprise where you bring virtual teams, and that also got heightened during the virtual environment in terms of complex businesses, ERPs, IT landscape, processes. How do you bring agility and speed? Large enterprises, they want to mirror the agility of startup, and all enterprises compare that how can we bring in the agility as well as the compliance of a larger organization? How do we bring effectiveness, drive the change? And that again got accelerated. How do we drive hyper productivity? How, in terms of what you can achieve in 3 to 5 years, the need of the hours was how do you achieve in 12, 18, 24 months? How do you have a sentient organization? How do you sense, feel, and respond in terms of how do you gather data? How do you bring the data? How do you bring upstream, downstream data, and really bring the one office concept to drive the employee experience, drive stakeholder experience anytime, anywhere? So these were some of the building blocks leading to innovation, leading to experience, efficiency, effectiveness. And without much further ado, I'll begin with Michael, who's with Adidas, in terms of the digital one office concept, in terms of how we drove, in terms of, I think we have seen organizations centered around front office, middle office, and back office, and how the organizations were able to bring the data, the information that is sitting in back office, and remove the intermediate layer, bring it to the front office to enhance the user experience. So Michael, I'd like to start with you asking your digital one office concept. How did you enable it? And what were the benefits that you were able to achieve?
Yes, thank you, Kapil, and thank you for the invite. And I fully second what you said. Let's also keep in mind our colleagues and friends in India and the situation there. That's something that's more top of mind, I have to say, than digital transformation at the moment, because a lot of what we do actually is enabled by our teams in India. Looking at the digital one office, when we describe that, the way you should see that is that what we're trying to do is we are connecting our front office, our mid office, and our back office. What does that factually mean? It means that our front office is usually our sales reps, our mid office is customer service, and our back office tends to be the finance processes. And we are connecting all those different systems to each other. So we are creating an environment whereby the information is available in the system that is used by the relevant department. So in this case, we have SaaS solutions. In the back end, we're using HighRadius for credit and collection purposes. And the mid office and the front office, we're using Salesforce, and those systems are connected. What does that mean? It means for us that by enabling that, whenever we get, for example, an underpayment from a customer, in HighRadius, we automatically create a dispute. That dispute is then pushed into Salesforce, and Salesforce pushes it out to whoever needs to deal with that dispute. And that process is fully automated. We're using machine learning to make that happen. And by enabling that, we are able to respond very quickly to the demands that we get from our customers. On top of that, it's also connected in the back end to our SAP system, which means that all the financial processing also happens in our core. While in the edge, we call that the edge, HighRadius and Salesforce, we are flexible. And we've also connected those systems to the front, which is a system we call Click. And that's what our customers actually have access to. And one of the things that we saw in the second quarter last year, when COVID started, of course, we wanted to continue our sales. So we enabled our virtual showroom in our Click platform. What does that mean? It means you can put on your 3D goggles and actually see in virtual reality our products. And that way you order the products for your stores or for your e-com environment, really being able to see them, to almost touch the products. And we are using that digital product now also in our e-com space. So if you go to our Adidas app, I invite everybody to download it. You can actually see the shoes on your foot in virtual reality. So this is how we are using digital to make that next step and to create this digital one office environment. And it's a really exciting journey that we're on to make that all happen.
Thanks, Michael. Phil, let me ask you in terms of in the last 12 to 18 months, how did you set up the Intelligent Automation Center from scratch and brought in the experience from your having worked in prior organizations? How were you able to set it up so quickly, so rapidly? And what did you see as outcomes? Like Michael was saying, the digital platform where you can experience the shoe on your foot. And really, I think that helped from a physical shop to a completely virtual environment and experience that you would get in an online shopping into a virtual environment. So Phil, over to you. Would be good to hear your perspectives.
Thanks, Kapil. And like Michael, we have a good-sized team in India, and as many of you do. So thoughts are out there to the Indian team. We're trying our best to help from remote, but it's not easy. So thank you. Yeah. So we've been on, for those of you familiar with SSOWs, I've appeared on a couple of panels and presented a little bit in the past. We've been quite a condensed timeline to create a multifunctional GBS. We now benchmark at level 3 with Hackett. And in about 4 years, we created a full GBS organization. And we went through 3 stages. First stage we called Operate, which was move the jobs to our centers in Costa Rica, Poland, Malaysia, and Pune in India, and make sure we keep things running, that we operate them pretty much the same processes. And then we went through some time period where we were trying to optimize those processes. So looking at Lean and Six Sigma and trying to standardize where we can, take the waste out. And we reached a stage where we realized that if we wanted to move to the next level, we needed intelligent automation thinking, intelligent automation tools. So we set up a pilot piece of work really initially almost 18 months ago, just right at the beginning of just before the pandemic. And we set that up out of Poland, and we've recruited that team, and most of the people we recruited I haven't even met because of the situation. That team started with some work looking at both RPA and intelligent automation tools. So we decided that we'd sort of missed the wave of RPA, but we've learned a lot from what other people, particularly in conferences like this, had talked about around the RPA wave. So we have done some RPA. We've got about 30 deployments of bots, but we also went into intelligent automation tools. Our biggest transformation I've talked about previously was with travel and expense, where we basically went through the whole stage. We moved it to Costa Rica. We optimized it through Lean, Six Sigma, standardization. And then we implemented machine learning to automate both the compliance activities in it, but also to make sure that we managers didn't need to approve T&E claims anymore. And we're actually starting to work through our processes, going end to end, in each process doing a diagnostic end to end, looking at where can we take waste out, where can we standardize it, where can we then start to look on bolt-on automation. And we've brought in tools like Trintech and ESCA, who are sponsors of the event. And now we're starting to look at artificial intelligence tools and process discovery tools. We have an intelligent process discovery tool, and we're doing some process mining pilots at the moment. So we've really tried to look at the whole for an end-to-end process, do what we can with the people we had, and then start to apply cognitive tools and techniques to help us along the way.
Thanks, Phil. Reto, as we all know, that humans and machines will coexist, the human wear, and more and more routine, repetitive tasks will get eliminated and automated. How did you bring the human and technology together and formalize the operating model so that both coexisted? And how did you drive that change? Coming in from Asahi, Mondelez, what are some of the learnings that you can give to the audience which will help them?
Thanks a lot for the question, Kapil. So that's actually a very interesting question, right? You know, a lot of learnings really come from Mondelez, right? That I've taken into Asahi now, right? What we are doing at Asahi is that we are focusing on developing a strategy, an HR strategy, which is an HR strategy which is including human and robots in a way. Because if you think about it, a robot has pretty similar requirements as a human, right? So yes, you could argue that you have it on the payroll, you have a cost for it, right? You're going to have some maintenance costs associated with it, right? That you will plan. You would then also, plan from an operating model perspective how they work together, right? So without any boundaries. So following those experience journeys, like across the process chains, right? That requires human and bots working together. So what we are doing is we are formalizing it in a strategy, and we are formalizing it, in process maps that are going across different process areas and that cover end to end.
Thanks, Reto. I think it's extremely important because, as we all know, both the human and machine, the robotics will coexist. How do you drive and really exponentially bring in the efficiency and experience by bringing the two together? Geeta, over to you. In terms of as more and more organizations are accelerating the digital journey, and more routine tasks are getting eliminated, automated. What are you doing from a capability perspective to enhance the overall capability quotient of the organization, Philip Morris? And really, how are you ensuring that the teams which were doing today some tasks that may not exist tomorrow, how are you helping them leapfrog and becoming have them stay relevant for the future?
So thank you for the question, Kapil, and glad to be here today. So I think from a digital transformation standpoint, there is a significant, different in the capabilities of yesteryears and different set of capabilities that today and tomorrow would need. And pretty much getting the digital to the forefront, like all the colleagues here on the panel today spoke, there's a fundamental question in our mind as to how the capabilities of tomorrow needs to shape up. And when we planted the picture of capabilities for tomorrow, pretty much we put it in the two buckets. So one is the strategic capabilities, which is the capabilities of innovation, disruption, storytelling, so on and so forth. And the second were the sheer technical capabilities. So capabilities, for example, of digital communication, capabilities of managing the chatbots, capabilities of advanced analytics. And we in the transformation office are responsible for holding the pen on building the capabilities. And as part of that, I reflected back on our team and our talent and how best we map that. And it was interesting that on one side, there was sort of our talent, our team, and the career development of our team, and the support that they need. Whether it is a build or it is a buy, whether it is a permanent workforce shift or we need to put in the liquid workforce. So there have been sort of various numerous discussions, but we do believe that the capabilities overall need a significant shift, and we have got to evaluate various other ways and means, including leveraging the partners ecosystem, the gig economy, so on and so forth, to be able to deliver to the digital agenda.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Geeta. Michael, interesting viewpoint in terms of last 12, 18 months. You said how you drove the digital one office, the virtual store. You guys also had astronomical growth in the last few quarters because I think everyone became very health conscious in this pandemic. So I think we were putting more miles on our shoes. How did you drive all this in a short span of time? How did you drove the change, the culture? Because when you're working virtual, you would have enrolled new people, new employees. So how did you enable all this? And if there are 2 or 3 learnings or lessons that you learned from this in the last 15 months now, what would they be for some of the folks who are attending and listening to us?
Yeah, so it's I think a very critical question in the sense that for me the key learning is that actually our teams can deal with a lot more than we think. So when they are faced with uncertain circumstances, they really step up and deliver. And one of the things that we needed to do in the February-March timeframe last year is when we saw what was happening in the outside world, we really needed to respond quickly because all of our retail stores, and we have many retail stores, for example, in China, we have a lot of franchisees and we're talking about thousands of stores there. And if that all closes all of a sudden, what are you going to do, right? So you're just losing your sales. You've got products still coming in. So what we did was we redeployed a lot of our retail staff, not only in our DevOps environment, in our product-led environment, but also in our IT environment, but also in our centers to start to work on the e-com space. And what that did was that in February and March of last year, we were able to improve our automation rate in finance of the settlement file that we got in and then reconciling it with the system from 66% to over 90%. Now, just to put that in perspective, we processed over 150 million lines last year. And we had a growth in the second quarter of last year of 97%. So I cannot all of a sudden have 60 additional people in my center in Porto to process all of that, but I can create automation that allows us to significantly reduce the workload. And actually now it's enabling us to be a lot better at what we do because we have a lot of automation in place. And of course, improving that further, but also deal with the workload with the people that we had who were all working from home, right? Because they were not able to be in the office anymore. They all needed to work from the home office. I think that's an amazing feat. I'm very, very proud of the team of making that happen, making that step change. And one thing that it's also shown us, and I think that's also a key lesson, is the virtual environment. You can work in that virtual environment. Right. I am now in the office. I'm one of, normally we have 7,500 people here on campus in Adidas. Today it's 300. So I'm one of the few that can come into the office, but all the other colleagues have actually contributed and been able to contribute because of the way that we've been digitally savvy and have prepared our teams for that. So, and we didn't know, we were not aware that that was the situation, but we are really proud of making that happen and making that step change. And supporting our business, because the second quarter of last year was one of our best quarters we've ever had in our e-com space. Such a phenomenal growth. While we saw that in our retail business, of course, we were struggling. So it's really helped us to expedite our digital space and go faster and do more.
Thanks, Michael. I think it just reinforces my belief that if there's anything that's limiting us, it's just our mindset. And what you said, that the teams were able to do a lot more, were able to work in virtual environment, which also support the 97% growth that you had. I think it's phenomenal to see and really see it in front of your own eyes and experience that. I think is a phenomenal achievement. Reto, from your point of view, I just wanted to ask one additional question on intelligent automation and understand that GBS, you are a global organization. GBS is a central function. How have you driven intelligent automation as a service? Which a lot of the providers in terms of BPaaS, IA as a service, in terms of, so the user, the end user is agnostic in terms of how it's getting produced, and the consumption layer becomes that much easier. So what are the things that you guys did to drive this within Asahi intelligent automation as a service?
Thanks for the question, Kapil. So I'm a big fan of intelligent automation as a service, I have to admit, right? So I think we invented the concept like 4 or 5 years ago at Mondelez. And I think the main benefit from intelligent automation as a service is that you can get started in weeks, right? So you basically can have your first automation live in like 3 months max, right? Because the different stages, innovating, then discovering, implementing, and operating is with a partner, right? So you can leverage that extended workbench or that unlimited workbench that you have with a partner. And most importantly, you're totally technology agnostic. So you don't need to start with RPA, right? So what we did was we kind of started with hyper automation. So very, very soon in the journey, we started with chatbots, we started with NLP, and then obviously also machine learning. So the lead time for scaling up an organization, the capital investment for infrastructure, for software licenses, et cetera, and that whole learning curve, this is significantly shorter with intelligent automation as a service. In Asahi, what we did is that we have chosen a hybrid approach now. And the hybrid approach really is intelligent automation as a service with a 3-year horizon, with a limited number of hyper automations, mainly on the back of our global ERP program. We are planning a greenfield ERP implementation, bring 7 instances into 1 and 700 legacy applications to below 100. So the maturity is really on the back of that ERP transformation, but at the same time, we are building in-house capabilities. We're building up the infrastructure. We are training the workforce, and we are making some investments into software products as well. So dual approach as a service and building it internally for scaling after a couple of years.
Thanks, Reto. Geeta, from your point of view, as I've mentioned, that we are seeing the lines between technology and business operations getting blurred, and they more and more together and working closely to drive business outcomes. At Philip Morris, how did you reimagine the processes, looking at end-to-end view and not just a siloed process view, and the underlying application layer, the infra layer, the entire tech stack, to drive exponential outcomes, as opposed to looking at just like a small piece and saying that, look, I can drive process efficiency here and there, but looking at the end-to-end, both from a tech and ops perspective?
So thanks for the question, Kapil. So let me respond by saying that at the very outset, I think it required a fundamental shift in our thinking. So by shift, I mean, for us from where, I would go back years ago, I would have started from a cost, efficiency, sheer quality, and speed. It's a very different start point where in my mind and together with the team, we are clear that it has to anchor the customer experience. And it has to be led by digital transformation. And when at least I think of digital transformation, for me, it is a transformation that is anchored by digital. So I almost split it into 2 parts. And which meant, and going back to the point that I think the other colleagues were also saying, it's pretty much laying down on a sheet of paper, okay, what are the significant digital interventions that are going to happen? So is it a next-gen ERP technology that we are investing in? Is it the next-gen master data tools that we are investing in? Is it the new CRM, as an example, for example, Salesforce that we are investing in? And almost painting that picture and going service line by service lines, including some of the compliance tools that are going to be, for example, bolted on, or some of the tools that enable us to do a very differentiated reporting that could feed into our strategies. And as an example, the strategies could mean the strategy that our treasury would want to lay down, the strategies that our tax would need to sort of gain value from. And then ensuring that once we've painted the picture of those technologies, how is it that we will reimagine the entire processes? So not going through a process reimagination and then putting in the technology, but basically digital at the heart, and then thinking about the entire reimagination, the ways of working, the governance, including the intelligent automation that we need to bring in if we do not have any solution to that. So I think that's sort of contextualizing such transformation journey, service line by service line, and then wrapping it around with the various capabilities and talent that we need to bring to bear to be able to drive is where the entire thought process lies.
Thanks, Geeta. I think I will ask one more question with the panelists, and then we'll open it up for the audience for Q&A. Phil, I will ask the question to you. You mentioned that you set up the Intelligent Automation Center of Excellence in 18 months. What really drove the need in terms of, and why now and there, and how did it help your stakeholders, and what were the challenges, learnings that you could bring and highlight?
Yeah, I think so. I mentioned it before. We've been on this journey of operate, optimize, and transform. And when we got to when we'd done some end-to-end process reviews, we realized that we needed to bring digital techniques to support us. And I guess our starting point really was implementing an intelligent process discovery tool. So using intelligent process discovery tools sitting on desktops of our employees and giving us a full map of the end-to-end process that then allowed us to identify, we use this sort of acronym E-STAR to allow us to identify where we could eliminate, where we had missed things that we hadn't seen manually in our eliminate and standardize sort of process optimization work. So elimination and standardization again came from things identified by intelligent process discovery, but then we were able to sort of see where we could tune. So we used a SAP optimizer tool that looked at our core SAP system and told us where we weren't using functionality that we should be using from the information we got from intelligent process discovery. And then when you took the final outputs of the intelligent process discovery, it enabled us to see where we couldn't do it in the core tool, the ERP. We couldn't do any more manual elimination and standardization, where we'd have to put some bolt-on automation in. And that's where we brought in Trintech for our month-end close and some of our compliance activities. But then we also identified things, small, repetitive, manual tasks where better done by a robot because they don't make mistakes. And we put a robotic process automation tactically in a few areas to solve a problem, and then realized that the intelligent process discovery tool could be just run over and over again to continue to optimize. So we ran it in many processes, quote to cash. We ran it in purchase to source to pay. We ran it in some of our record to report processes. So we're really, really utilizing that digital technique, if you like, that we just heard from Geeta, to drive improvement end to end in our processes. And now we're going outside the firewall of what GBS owns to do that.
Thanks, Phil. I think we have a few questions. Let me go. I think we have a question from Camilla of Localiza. And that question is for Michael. Michael, did you hire any consulting company or a tech company to support you with digital transformation, specifically automation process? And if yes, who did you bring on board?
Well, we have 60,000 people working for us in total. So, and of course, we also utilize externals to support us. I think maybe I will answer the question a little bit differently. We have committed to invest in the next 4 years, 1 billion in our digital transformation. That's a commitment that our board has made. And what we are doing is we're actually right sourcing, which means we are hiring now at this moment in time over 2,000 digital experts into our teams. So we are actually moving away from some of our vendors, minimizing the number of vendors and choosing strategic vendors. I think, Kapil, you're very much aware that you are one of our vendors. But of course, we have more. We also have vendors specialized in certain areas. We're using, for example, Attune in the area of our supply chain. So we are using Deloitte as a vendor for our overall Transform, which is our S4 program. So we are using multiple vendors in this space. We used Genpact to help us with our e-com journey. So there's always this expertise that we try to bring in to make that next step and to make that possible. And maybe if I just may respond to something Geeta said, because that triggered me. I think one of the things that when you look at working backwards, so working from the problem, from the consumer backwards to find out what you need to do. One of the key things that I'm seeing, and I will mention an example because that makes it really clear. When we are spending as Adidas quite a lot of money on our customers, giving them certain discounts. It's a very big expense that we have every year. Normally, when process people look at that, and I heard Phil talk about looking at the process, you look at the process, and then the answer to that problem was, we need a better tool to do the upload in the back end. Well, the question actually was, how can we help the sales rep to have a tool in front of him that allows him to improve our margin? Because that adds a lot more value to the sales rep, who is our business partner, and that it then uploads in the back end. That's nice, right? That's kind of should always happen. But the value is actually in making that additional 1 or 2% with that particular customer. Because if we do that for our whole portfolio, we're adding that 2% to our. I think that's the difference in thinking consumer and customer experience and thinking process. And I see that as a difference in maturity. And we're still growing in Adidas as well, so we're not there yet. But that's a difference in maturity. So I would recommend everybody to read the book that was written by 2 Amazon experts who are talking about looking backwards, because that gives you a lot of insight into actually that journey and how you can make that happen.
Thanks, Michael. I think we have got quite a few questions. I'm just trying to navigate. I think, Geeta, the question is from Ariane from Nestle. Have you changed the way criteria used to recruit your workforce to upgrade your digital skills, especially on the strategic soft skill side?
And the answer is yes, we will change the way. So we are coming 3 months into the role and having done that, the answer is yes, because like I said, going forward, it is a balance we need between the technical, but more importantly, I do believe believe to the core of my heart to the word co, which is collaboration and co-creation. So the softer skills then have got to be in the forefront to deliver exponential value.
Okay. I think this is an interesting question. The most challenging issues for moving digital transformation seems to be process standardization. What are the key things needed to make standardization successful? I think I'll open it up to the to panelists, whoever wants to take a stab at it in terms of how
I can
you
have
have.
a stab if you like, Phil. It's Phil. So what we really found was, I think I mentioned it a little bit about the intelligent process discovery tool. So linking your Lean Six Sigma expertise that has a long experience in services together with your intelligent process discovery, and I absolutely agree with Michael. Design thinking at the front end, absolutely key. So what are you trying to deliver? What's important to your customers? How do you link design thinking through to understanding the process you're looking at, so you deliver what's important to your customers and don't deliver waste? We're internally. And standardization for us, we came from many operating companies over a historic period of time. So actually, as much of our effort has been in change management as in actually delivering the change, because I believe a change has to have a few things. You have to have the Lean Six Sigma expertise. You have to have digital now. You also have to have human change management, because you've got to get those humans to do something differently if you want them to change. So that would be really the biggest challenge for linking the pieces together.
Thanks, Phil. The next question is from, we have a few minutes left, so this will be the last question that I'll be asking, and then I think if there are questions, then I think we will answer them offline. What's the preferred engagement strategy for the business owners, and have their buy-in for implementing digital operating model?
If I may, I think in the end, it's part of your core, right? So it needs to come from the top. So it's part of your DNA. Digital is not a choice, right? You need to make it happen, because otherwise, as a company, you will not survive. So it's pretty obvious that this is the direction that you need to take and that you need to drive it home. And I think what I notice now is everybody is convinced that that's the right direction. So there's no question mark, is digital the right thing to do? It is the right thing to do. Everybody knows it. Everybody's focused on it. I think the challenge that we have as a team is how do we make it happen with the people that we have? Because it's not even a problem of money. It's more a problem of finding the right resources, the right people, the right talents, the right capabilities. Because when you look at this panel, everybody's asking the same questions, right? And actually, what one of my other VPs is telling me is, we can't move faster because Infosys cannot resource the talent. Yeah. That's literally what came out of a meeting yesterday. So, Kapil, that's your challenge, right? But it is a real challenge for all of us. It's finding the right people and the right talent without overburdening our teams, because we are working from home. We need to take care of our people. And I think this is one of the key things that I would add there, if I may. Maybe we can give Rito another opportunity to talk as well.
Yeah, and thanks, Michael. I think it's every challenge, I think also lend us an opportunity. Also, I think some of the folks asked for the book that you mentioned, the title. So if you could maybe type it for everyone so that they can benefit from the book that you mentioned. I think very interesting discussion from how Adidas moved from physical stores to virtual stores, help facilitate the business grow 97% with the same team size, to Geeta in terms of Philip Morris on the capability dimension, how you have got new sets of capabilities, learnability being one of the big skill set or the ingredient that you look for talent, how you upgrade the skill set, from intelligent automation, how do you set up the intelligent automation COE, what are the building blocks, how do you set it up as a service, how do you drive the change, how do you bring humanware together. I think lots of things to learn. I know 45 minutes is not enough. If any of the audiences have any questions, I think I would urge you folks to write to Kathy, and then we will try and see what we can do and how we can answer them. We have also come up with a digital maturity framework, because there is no one size fits all. Different organizations are at different maturity curve. They have their own cultures. Change management, strategy is one thing. How do you ensure that you drive execution, bring the entire set of organization together? While everyone understands that digital, you have to accelerate the digital journey, otherwise you won't exist, like Michael is saying. But still, you do face challenges in organizations in trying to bring all stakeholders together and drive them for a common vision. How do you enable it? Where you are with respect to your organizations are some of the learnings that I think, I hope you guys got from the panel discussion. And thank you very much, Phil, Michael, Reto, and Geeta, for joining me for this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Over to you, Kathy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. What a powerful panel discussion. Thank you so much for all the panelists for sharing your insights and answering all the questions. And thank you, Kapil, for keeping us all together. for the session. So thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us. So next.